The invasion begins. In the depths of space, on a distant planet orbiting a foreign sun, a small human colony had carved out a tenuous existence. Among the settlers was 16-year-old Mira Kenton, a bright and resourceful girl who had known no other life than this extraterrestrial frontier. Mira's days were filled with the routine tasks of the colony: tending the hydroponic gardens, maintaining the life support systems, and studying the strange new world that was her home. Despite the challenges of living light years from Earth, the colonists had formed a tight-knit community, united by their shared pioneering spirit. But on that fateful day, as the alien sun crested the horizon, a dark shadow fell over the settlement. Mira was on the outskirts of the colony, gathering samples of the resilient purple vegetation that had evolved to thrive in this harsh environment, when a deep, ominous hum filled the air. Looking up, her heart seized in her chest as she saw a massive, unfamiliar spacecraft obscuring the sky. It was unlike any of the supply ships or scientific vessels that occasionally visited from Earth. This craft was imposing, almost organic in its design, with pulsing lights and strange protrusions that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Mira's instincts screamed at her to run, to warn the others, but before she could move, a searing beam of energy lanced down from the ship, impacting the center of the colony with a blinding explosion. The ground heaved beneath her feet, sending her sprawling to the dirt. Ears ringing, Mira pushed herself up, blinking away the afterimage burned into her retinas. Where the heart of the settlement had been was now a smoking crater, the prefab buildings and infrastructure reduced to twisted, melted ruins. Panic gripped her as she saw armored bipedal figures descending from the spacecraft on glowing beams of light. These aliens were unlike any species humanity had encountered before, towering and muscular, with iridescent scales and multiple, slitted eyes that glowed with a predatory intelligence. The invaders wasted no time, firing strange weapons that emitted pulses of crackling energy. Colonists who were struck by the blasts crumpled lifelessly to the ground, while others found themselves trapped in shimmering fields of force, their struggles futile against the advanced technology. Mira watched in horror as her friends and neighbors were cut down or captured. The peaceful settlement transformed into a scene of chaos and destruction in mere moments. The aliens moved with ruthless efficiency, their purpose unclear but undeniably hostile. Heart-pounding, Mira knew she had to flee, to find some way to survive this sudden onslaught. She turned and sprinted towards the wilderness that bordered the colony, adrenaline fueling her strides. Behind her, she could hear the alien weapons firing, the screams of the colonists, and the strange, guttural language of the invaders barking orders. As she reached the tree line, Mira risked a glance back over her shoulder. The colony was in ruins, the once vibrant community reduced to a hellscape of fire and carnage. Tears stung her eyes as she saw the aliens rounding up the survivors, herding them into glowing energy cages. With a choked sob, Mira plunged into the forest, the purple foliage swallowing her slender form. She didn't know where she was going or what she would do, but she knew she had to survive, had to find a way to save her people from this nightmare. Little did Mira know that in the depths of this alien wilderness, she would find an unlikely ally, one that would change the course of her destiny and the fate of her colony forever. For now, all she could do was run, her world shattered and her future uncertain, as the invasion of her home planet began in earnest. Unlikely alliance. Mira ran until her lungs burned and her legs trembled with exhaustion. The sounds of the invasion faded behind her, replaced by the eerie stillness of the alien forest. Purple leaves as wide as her hand rustled softly in the gentle breeze, while bioluminescent fungi cast an ethereal glow across the undergrowth. As the adrenaline ebbed from her system, Mira slowed to a stumbling walk, her mind reeling from the horror she had witnessed. Her home, her friends, her very way of life had been shattered in an instant by the ruthless invaders. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she grappled with the magnitude of the loss. A sudden rustling in the foliage nearby sent a jolt of fear through her. Mira froze, her heart pounding as she scanned the shadowy underbrush for any sign of movement. The rustling came again, followed by a low, pained groan that sounded distinctly alien. Curiosity warring with caution, Mira crept forward, parting the leaves with trembling hands. There, lying in a pool of iridescent blood, was one of the alien creatures. But unlike the armored invaders that had attacked her colony, this one was smaller, its scales a mottled green and brown that seemed designed for camouflage. The alien's chest heaved with labored breaths, and Mira could see a deep, jagged wound in its side, oozing with the same luminescent blood. Its eyes, large and multifaceted, blinked slowly as it registered her presence. For a moment, Mira was torn between the urge to flee and a strange sense of compassion. This creature, while alien, was clearly in pain and distress. The same empathy that had driven her to care for injured animals as a child now tugged at her heart. Slowly, cautiously, Mira approached the wounded alien. It made no move to attack or flee, merely watching her with those inscrutable eyes. Up close, she could see the intricacy of its scales, the delicate membranes between its long, clawed fingers. "I'm not going to hurt you," Mira whispered, hoping her tone would convey her peaceful intentions, even if her words were meaningless to the creature. Tearing a strip of fabric from her shirt, Mira hesitantly reached out to press the makeshift bandage against the alien's wound. It flinched at her touch, but did not pull away, a low trill emanating from its throat. As Mira tended to the injury, she felt a sudden pressure in her mind, like a wordless presence seeking entry. Startled, she jerked back, but the presence persisted, growing more insistent. "What? What is this?" Mira gasped, pressing her hands to her temples. To her shock, a voice echoed in her thoughts, alien and strange but understandable. "Do not be afraid, human child. I mean you no harm." Mira stared at the wounded creature, her eyes wide. You can speak to me." "In my mind." The alien inclined its head. "My species communicates thus. I am called Zephyr, and I am not your enemy." As Mira listened in amazement, Zephyr explained that he was part of a rebel faction fighting against the invaders who had conquered his own world. The attackers, he revealed, were a ruthless empire known as the Valaxian Dominion, bent on subjugating other races and stripping their planets of resources. "But why attack my people?" Mira asked, her voice trembling. "We're no threat to them." Zephyr's mental voice was heavy with sorrow. "The Dominion sees all other species as inferiors to be exploited. They will enslave your kind and mine alike." A fierce determination welled up in Mira's heart. She couldn't let that happen, couldn't let her people suffer such a fate. And in Zephyr, perhaps she had found an unexpected ally in this fight. "We have to stop them," Mira declared, her jaw set. "We have to find a way to save our people." Zephyr's eyes met hers, and a surge of respect and admiration flowed through their mental link. "You are brave, human child. Together, perhaps we can stand against the Dominion." As the alien sun dipped below the horizon, and the forest came alive with the glow of bioluminescence, Mira and Zephyr huddled together, two unlikely allies forging a bond in the face of a common enemy. The road ahead would be perilous, but with courage and ingenuity, they would find a way to fight back against the invaders and reclaim their freedom. Infiltration. In the days that followed, Mira and Zephyr worked tirelessly to gather intelligence on the Valaxian invaders. Using Zephyr's knowledge of Dominion tactics and technology, they devised a plan to infiltrate the alien base that had been established on the ruins of the human colony. Mira, with her small size and agility, was the perfect candidate to sneak into the heavily guarded facility. Zephyr, still recovering from his injuries, would guide her from afar through their mental link. As the twin moons of the alien planet hung low in the night sky, Mira crept through the shadows towards the perimeter of the base. The Valaxian guards, their armor glinting in the moonlight, patrolled the boundaries with watchful eyes and strange, pulsing weapons at the ready. Mira's heart raced as she waited for an opening, her body pressed tight against the cool, alien stone. At Zephyr's silent signal, she darted forward, slipping between the patrols with a swiftness born of desperation. Once inside the base, Mira navigated the labyrinthine corridors with Zephyr's guidance, her senses heightened to every sound and movement. The architecture was strange and unsettling, all organic curves and pulsing bioluminescent lines that seemed to throb with a life of their own. As she ventured deeper into the heart of the facility, Mira stumbled upon a massive chamber that took her breath away. Row upon row of glowing, translucent pods lined the walls, each one containing the motionless form of a human captive. Steeling herself, Mira crept closer to the nearest pod, examining the alien technology with a critical eye. The neural interface was complex, but with Zephyr's guidance, she began to decipher the intricate patterns and pathways of the system. Time seemed to blur as Mira lost herself in the task, her nimble fingers working to unravel the secrets of the Valaxian technology. Zephyr's presence in her mind was a constant comfort, his knowledge and encouragement spurring her on. Just as Mira was on the verge of a breakthrough, a sudden, piercing alarm shattered the eerie stillness of the chamber. Red light pulsed through the room, and the sound of heavy, armored footsteps echoed from the corridors beyond. "They've detected your presence," Zephyr warned, his mental voice urgent. "You must flee, quickly." Mira's heart pounded as she scrambled away from the pods, her mind racing with the knowledge she had gleaned. She knew now how to disrupt the neural subjugation, but she would need time and resources to put her plan into action. With Zephyr guiding her, Mira navigated the twisting corridors of the base, narrowly evading the Valaxian patrols that rushed to investigate the disturbance. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she finally emerged into the night air, the cool breeze a welcome relief on her sweat-damp skin. As she raced back to the safety of the wilderness, Mira's mind churned with the weight of her discovery. The key to freeing her people lay within her grasp, but the path ahead would be fraught with danger and sacrifice. Yet in that moment, with the alien stars wheeling overhead and the fire of determination burning in her heart, Mira knew she would stop at nothing to save her colony from the clutches of the Valaxian Dominion. The battle was only just beginning, but she was ready to fight. The uprising. In the hidden depths of the alien wilderness, Mira and Zephyr gathered a small but determined group of rebels. Among them were human survivors who had managed to evade capture and members of Zephyr's own species who had long resisted the Valaxian Dominion's oppressive rule. Together, they worked tirelessly to prepare for the coming uprising. Mira shared the knowledge she had gained during her infiltration of the Valaxian base, teaching the rebels how to disrupt the neural subjugation technology that held their people in thrall. Zephyr, his wounds now healed, trained the human rebels in the art of Valaxian combat, sharing his intimate knowledge of their weapons and tactics. The humans, in turn, brought their own ingenuity and adaptability to the table, devising clever strategies to level the playing field against the technologically superior foe. As the twin moons waxed and waned in the alien sky, the rebels made their preparations in secret, smuggling weapons and supplies into the Valaxian-controlled settlement under the cover of darkness. Mira and Zephyr moved like ghosts among the captive population, whispering words of hope and rebellion to those who still had the spark of defiance in their hearts. And then, on the night of the new moon, when the sky was darkest and the Valaxian guards were at their lowest alertness, the signal was given. Mira, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, activated the device she had constructed to disrupt the neural subjugation network. In an instant, the Valaxian base was plunged into chaos. The translucent pods that had held the human captives in their thrall suddenly went dark, the eerie glow of the neural interface fading away. Across the settlement, humans began to stir, their minds free for the first time in weeks or months. The Valaxian guards, caught off guard by the sudden revolt, scrambled to respond. But the rebels were ready, surging forward with a fierce battle cry. Mira fought alongside Zephyr and the others, wielding a pulse rifle scavenged from a fallen Valaxian soldier. The battle was fierce and bloody, the night air filled with the scream of energy weapons and the cries of the wounded and dying. The humans, though outgunned and outnumbered, fought with a desperate fury born of months of oppression and despair. Mira found herself face to face with a towering Valaxian commander, his iridescent scales gleaming in the flickering light of the burning buildings. The alien's eyes burned with a cold, predatory intelligence as he leveled his weapon at her. But Mira was faster, diving to the side and coming up firing. Her shot struck the commander's armor, sending him staggering back. Zephyr was there in an instant, his own weapon blazing as he joined the fray. Together, the two rebels pressed their advantage, working in perfect unison as they drove the Valaxian commander back. Around them, the tide of the battle was turning, the human rebels and their alien allies slowly but surely overwhelming the Valaxian forces. And then, with a final desperate burst of fire, Mira and Zephyr brought the commander down. The massive Valaxian collapsed to the ground, his armor smoking and sparking. A cheer went up from the rebels as they saw their hated enemy fall. The battle raged on through the night, but the outcome was never truly in doubt. The Valaxians, their command structure in disarray and their technological advantage negated, were no match for the determination and courage of the rebel forces. As the first light of dawn began to paint the sky in shades of lavender and gold, the last of the Valaxian soldiers fled, their ships rising into the atmosphere like a flock of startled birds. The rebels, exhausted but triumphant, watched them go, their hearts filled with a fierce, unquenchable joy. Mira, her face streaked with sweat and grime, turned to Zephyr, a wide grin splitting her face. They had done it. Against all odds, they had defeated the Valaxian Dominion and freed their people from the yoke of oppression. But even as the rebels celebrated their hard-won victory, Mira knew that the fight was far from over. The Valaxian Dominion was vast, and their defeat here was but a small blow against their empire of cruelty and conquest. Yet in that moment, as the alien sun rose over a world newly freed, Mira felt a sense of hope and purpose that she had never known before. She had found her calling, her destiny, in the crucible of this war, and with Zephyr by her side and the strength of her fellow rebels at her back, she knew that they would continue to fight, to push back against the darkness, until all the stars were free. Liberation. In the days following the successful rebellion, the human colony and their alien allies worked tirelessly to rebuild what had been lost. The ruins of the settlement, once a testament to the destructive might of the Valaxian Dominion, now became a symbol of hope and resilience as the survivors banded together to create something new. Mira found herself at the center of this effort, her name spoken with reverence and awe by those she had helped to liberate. She was hailed as a hero, a shining example of the indomitable human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. But Mira knew that she had not achieved this victory alone. Zephyr had been by her side every step of the way, his wisdom and courage a constant source of strength. And the rebels, both human and alien, had fought with a bravery and determination that inspired her even in the darkest moments. As the colony began to take shape once more, Mira and Zephyr worked to forge a new alliance between their peoples. The humans, with their ingenuity and adaptability, and Zephyr's people, with their advanced technology and knowledge of the wider galaxy, had much to offer one another. Together, they planned for a future in which they would stand united against the threats that lurked among the stars. The Valaxian Dominion was still out there, a looming shadow on the horizon, but Mira knew that they would not face that darkness alone. In quiet moments, when the work of rebuilding was done and the alien stars shone down upon the settlement, Mira would often find herself in conversation with Zephyr. They spoke of their hopes and dreams, of the worlds they had known and the ones they had yet to explore. And always, their thoughts would turn to the future, to the challenges that lay ahead. Mira knew that the road would not be easy, that there would be setbacks and struggles along the way. But she also knew that they had something worth fighting for, a vision of a galaxy in which all species could live in freedom and harmony. Under Mira's leadership, the colony thrived. The humans and their alien allies worked side by side, learning from one another and growing stronger with each passing day. They expanded their settlement, building new homes and facilities that blended human ingenuity with alien technology. And as the colony grew, so too did its reputation. Word spread throughout the galaxy of the small band of rebels who had stood against the might of the Valaxian Dominion and emerged victorious. Other species, long oppressed by the Dominion's cruelty, began to look to Mira and her people as a beacon of hope. In time, the colony became a hub of resistance, a gathering place for those who sought to fight back against the darkness. Mira found herself at the center of a growing movement, a coalition of species united in their determination to bring an end to the Dominion's tyranny. And through it all, Zephyr remained by her side, a constant source of strength and support. Together, they faced the challenges of leadership, guiding their people through the storms of war and the uncertainties of a galaxy in turmoil. Years passed, and the fight against the Valaxian Dominion raged on. There were victories and defeats, moments of triumph and despair. But through it all, Mira and her fellow rebels never lost sight of their ultimate goal, a galaxy in which all species could live in freedom and peace. And as Mira looked out over the thriving settlement that had once been a burnt-out ruin, she knew that they were closer to that goal than ever before. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but with the strength of her convictions and the support of her allies, she knew that they would prevail. For Mira had learned the true meaning of the human spirit, the unquenchable fire that burned within the hearts of all those who refused to submit to tyranny and oppression. And with that fire burning bright, she knew that there was no force in the galaxy that could stand against them. The battle was far from over, but Mira and her fellow rebels would continue to fight, to push back against the darkness until the stars themselves were free. And in that fight, they would find their true purpose, their calling, and the unbreakable bonds of fellowship that would carry them through to the end.